You are listening to the In Between Sales Calls podcast with Derek Chevy, episode 65. Welcome, everyone. Today's going to be a new type of session that I plan on doing going throughout the year, and I call this the Sales Questions of the Week. Very often, I work with salespeople every single day, but very often I get questions that stand out to me. And I feel like they'd be great questions for me to share with you because I talk about it, we handle it as a group, or sometimes they call me up and it's a one-off question, but they're questions that I imagine you might be having. And by the way, if you have questions too that you want me to answer, feel free to send them to me on LinkedIn or even join my Outliers membership where we could talk about it together. But here's the first question that I got that I thought was really interesting. I had a salesperson that said they've been doing amazing, which is great. I'm happy for them. They've been doing amazing, winning a lot of deals. They're really competitive. They don't want to lose, but sometimes they do lose. And when they lose, it hurts. And how can they become okay with losing? Because losing really gets to them. And they know that if they want to have a long-term sales career, they need to find a way to be okay with losing because sometimes you just lose, right? So that was the question that I got. How can I get okay with losing? Like, what are my recommendations there? Well, this is what I told her. It really is a good question. First of all, from a competitive standpoint, I hate to lose too. I don't know about you, but I'm very, very competitive and want to make sure I win every single deal that I'm in. That's how it's always been. I felt for her on that. So we talked about how, look, I get it. There was this one deal I remember losing specifically that always stood out to me. And what happened is I broke it in, I cold called it in person. And it was a huge, huge opportunity. And I cold called in person and then I followed up over the phone and I broke in with the CFO, net new. And from a qualification standpoint, for me, this would be like one of the biggest deals of my career type accounts. And so I worked on it, and the CFO had me work with the director of IT. And so I was working on this account for about a month and spending a lot of time with the director of IT and getting everything I need to separate myself from the competition. And this was in my prime selling days, so I felt like I was pretty good at the time. Of course, I feel like I've gotten better over the years, but at the time, I felt like I was better than anyone in my territory. And so the day came around for the decision. And by the way, this account, in my mind, was worth 1 year's worth of annual budget, to put it in perspective. So the day came around where I was getting the decision, and I was expecting this thing to come in. I expected it to come in, and I told my boss this thing's coming in. Like, I was like, I'm gonna show everybody what's up. This is how you close these big net new deals. The director of IT calls me up and says, "Hey, Derek, no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to tell you, we appreciate everything that you did, but we're just going to stay with our current vendor." And I couldn't believe I was hearing that. And I said, "What? I don't get it. I thought you're going with us the whole time and everything." He goes, "Yeah, it's just we just decided to stay with our current vendor. Sorry, Derek." And I said, "Wait a minute. Did you just use me to get a better deal from your current vendor?" And I paused. And I listened very, very intently. And I could hear him go, "Yeah, Derek, that's what we did." And I said, "Oh man, I can't believe that. Really? Jeez. Dang." And so I remember saying this just like it was yesterday. I remember saying, "You know what? I'm going to find a way for us to work together. I can't believe he didn't go with me on this, but I'm going to find another way we can work together." And he goes, "Okay, sure, Derek, whatever, great. You do that," sort of thing. And then so I remember hanging up with him and just being so mad. I couldn't believe I lost that deal. But as a salesperson, I knew that, there's always something else I could do. There's something else I could sell them. And so at that time, we had a new service that we rolled out. And no one had sold anything yet for that service. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that. So I called him back up and I said, "Hey, I think there's another way we can work together." Just like I said, I'm still bitter about it. And he said, "Sure, Derek, come on by." And Anyway, I sold him this other service, and it was a big deal too. I still sold him a big deal, and it only took like a fraction of the time. And we started a relationship with this company. Shortly after that, I ended up moving into leadership in my company, and someone else took over my territory. I was the top rep, so someone else took over the top rep territory. And I remember she was struggling. This rep, great rep that we had, great professional. And she comes into my office and she says, "Derek, I need help. I need to know. I need some business. Like, do you know of any places I could go? I'm struggling." And I said, "Yeah, there's this one account." And I told her about this account, right? This account that I had lost, that I came back and won this smaller deal, but it was still a big deal. And I told her about it. And I said, "You know what? Just say this sort of thing. I bet you can get something there." So she goes there and starts working on the original deal that I wanted, right? And because of the other service that I had sold him after the first one, I had won that entire company over because of it. So they were open to looking at my original deal after that. And after a month of her working on this account, she closed this big deal. And I'll never forget, she made $50,000 in commissions off of it. $50,000. Yeah, it was crazy. It was a real big deal, obviously. But back to the question. I mean, I did feel a sense of like victory. I will say I felt that. Sure, I didn't get it commission wise, but I felt that sense of victory. There's a question here. The first one is, how can I get okay with losing? Well, my answer is, I'm competitive too, right? I'm competitive too. I hate to lose, but the only thing that you can do in sales, to be consistent, is you can stack deals in your favor. And you got to make sure you're always doing that. How are you stacking deals in your favor? Every single thing you can possibly do to make it seem like, beyond a shadow of doubt, the customer should always be going with you. And if they don't go with you, then they know themselves they're making a mistake. I said, and if you set up deals that way, where you feel you did everything you possibly could, and you really believe that, you could go down the list and said, "I did this, I did all of these things," then you can hold your head high. And that's all you can really do to get okay with losing. You can look at it and say, "I know I did the best I could. I know I did the best, everything I possibly could to win this deal." And then also to keep in mind, you can always get it next time, right? It's not a forever thing. So don't think it's ever set in stone. But in the long run, you can control how much value you provide in the deal, and that way you can hold your head high. So the second question I had, which I thought was interesting too, it's a quick one, was someone in my sales bootcamp. They said, "Hey, Derek, well, I'm using all your strategies, and I'm calling, and there's some customers that, I find out that they're there, like they actually are in the office, and I know they're the person I'm supposed to be looking for, but they're still not answering the phone. What would you do?" And that actually came up today, in my bootcamp. And it's a good question because, sure, I've got processes that we use at our organizations that are extremely effective of breaking into net new, cold calling in person, cold calling over the phone, like the best system, the best approaches, everything. But even still with that doesn't mean you're not going to completely get 1,000%. Like they're always going to pick up, they're always going to answer. Of course, they're not going to happen. It's not going to happen sometimes. So what did I say? What's my recommendation? Well, this is what I said. I said, first of all, when it comes to voicemail, and I'm not a big fan of voicemail, you guys, but when it comes to voicemail, if you keep getting voicemail and they're there, well, a lot of these voice over IP systems that exist, they're defaulted to automatically forward a call to someone's cell phone if you hit the number 1. Okay, so if you hit 1 when you hit the voicemail, it automatically goes to them. And if they do have their cell phone connected like that, then you could see what happens. But I would be prepared for it to go straight to voice, automatically beep. And in that case, I'd hang up, right? I'd hang up. I don't recommend you leave voicemails, at least not until the 5th touch, at least. But you should call back and then ask for a new contact. Try to get some other contact. Try to get more information. Always got to remember you have 2 objectives when you're prospecting. The first objective is to get a meeting, get an appointment. And you've got to do everything you can to get someone to pick up, to get someone to answer, to get someone to come out. But if you can't, then your second objective is information. So make sure you get that 3 to 5 pieces of information. Okay. Number 3, This one also happened this week, and this one stood out to me a lot. I haven't been asked this in a long time, but it was Derek, what would you do if you were me and you were starting your career over, and you were brand new in it? What would you do? And you might need to think about that too for yourself, wherever you are in your career. And you say, what would you tell yourself? What would be the things that you do all over again? Well, this is what I told them. The first thing that I would do, and you can learn more about these details in my What Are Income Outliers episode, a couple episodes before. So what I would say is, first of all, I would fully commit to the career. I would say, this right here, where I'm working today at this company, I know I can make incredible results happen for me. I don't care what people have done before me. I can be that outlier. I can be that person that has exceptional unicorn type results. I can be that person. And I don't need to go somewhere else. I don't need to go to a different territory. I don't need to go to a different company. I don't need to go to a different industry. I can do that here, me. That's going to be the legacy that I pave here. That's the first thing that I would do. I would commit 1,000% to this career, wherever it is that you're at. That's the first thing. The second thing that I would do is I would make sure that I'm being open to coaching, being coachable. And I talk a lot about this in my episodes. And the one episode that stands out the most that I actually recommended this rep go to is the episode where I said, the time I got a letter. It's called the time I got a letter. I think it's episode 23 or something like that in my podcast, but it's the time I got a letter. And that was a real interesting time for me. That's the beginning of my career. And that's when I'm actually looking back on the mistakes I made. But the big part of it is I wasn't coachable. And the top people that I've noticed, at least in my career, the ones that have risen to success fastest, is they might have been confident, because of course I was confident. I imagine you're confident too, but I was really confident. But I didn't let that confidence turn into cockiness, because whenever there was someone that I knew I could learn from, I should have been more I should have been more coachable. I should have been listening. And I wasn't. I was too cocky. That's my problem. I was too cocky. I already thought I was better than people. I already thought I could do better than them. And so because of that, I wasn't as open to learning. And what I would say to start over, the second thing I do, obviously, the first thing is commit to where I'm at. The second thing I do is I'd be more coachable. And being more coachable, here's the trick. This is what I told the rep. Here's the trick. If you look at someone's success that's coaching you or that's giving you advice, I would ask yourself, would you trade where you're at with where they are with the success they're at right now? Like if you could just leapfrog to that level of success right now, would you? And if the answer in any part of it is yes, then there's something you can learn. And if there's something you can learn, drop the cockiness, drop the fake, oh yeah, sounds great. This is great. I like it. And just say, what if you just did it? What if you just took the coaching and just did it? See, for me, I would listen to it. I'd be polite and I would be sure. I'd be like, yeah, this is great. I like it. That's not. And then I'd go do my own thing. I'd go do whatever I thought I needed to do. But what if I just did it? What if I really was coachable and I said, this person has had more success than me here already? It doesn't matter how long they've been here, but they've had more success than me and I believe it. So what can I actually learn from them? And when you listen, do it. So that's the second thing. I'd be coachable. So the first one, remember the first part of this was I would commit to the job, commit to the career. Second part of it is be coachable. And the last thing I told him to do is to figure out how to master the fundamentals of selling. That's a really important thing. You've got to master the fundamentals. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you play golf? Right? And he goes, yeah, I play golf here and there, and I don't know if you listening right now, if you play golf, but you might think you got this golf game down. You might think you got it down. And so what's interesting is you go there and you swing the club and the ball goes. Sure, it goes. You're hitting the golf ball. You can play the game, sure. But do you actually know how to play it right? Do you actually know how to hold the club right? Do you actually know how to swing the club right? Are there things that you don't know about the fundamentals? Well, you know who could teach you? Go get a coach, right? Go get a golf pro. Go get someone at the country club that you golf at, and buy lessons once, at least once, and learn how to do it right. The thing about sales is everyone thinks they can figure it out themselves. But what happens is it doesn't take you, it takes you way too long to figure it out. And the ones that are smart enough to say, I want someone to get me better, and they're open to it and they're coachable, and they learn the fundamentals, they learn how to hold the club right. They learn all aspects of the actual game itself. And then they're just building upon the right foundations. Those are the ones that skyrocket and can do way better than anyone else. And so the third thing I'd say is make sure you learn the fundamentals and master them. And the only way you can learn them there's two ways. You can either figure it out yourself, which is going to take years. Sure, you can play the game. You know what? You can play golf any day you want. But if you want to really be on the path to become great, it's going to take you years to learn what's right and wrong. Or you can invest in learning the fundamentals. And so that's the thing that I would recommend you do. So yeah, again, the answer, what would you do if you were to start your career over? My answer was I would commit for that to be my career, the career that I'm going to be an income outlier at. Nowhere else, that place. I'm going to do things today that would matter for me down the road. I would go all in. The second thing that I would do is I would be coachable, and I'd learn from people that I know had something to teach me, and I would do it. I wouldn't just listen, I would do it. And the third thing that I would do is I would start mastering the fundamentals. And that means you're going to need to learn that. Learn from people that actually spent years and years and years of figuring out what not to do, so they can teach you how to hold that club right? How to do everything right the first time, so you don't have to figure it out yourself. And then from there, you just build upon that in your career and you can do great. So that's what I have for the sales questions of the week. How can I get okay with losing? What do you do if your prospect doesn't answer, but you know they're still in the office? And then what would you do if you're starting over in your career? So that's the sales questions of the week, you guys. We're in January. If you have questions too, I'd love to answer them. Make sure you send them out to me. And I'm happy to answer them. Of course, if you want to come into my sales membership group, you can ask me yourself. And we could talk about it, throughout the weeks, and make sure that you're constantly doing the right things every single day and on your path to becoming your own income outlier in your industry. That's it for today, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to join you in your sales journey. See you next time. Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast and you're a B2B salesperson looking for extraordinary results, you have to check out my Outliers community. It's my monthly coaching program where we build the skills and habits needed to take your sales results far beyond your peers and out to where the highest income earners are in your industry, or as I call them, the outliers. Join me in the Outliers community at www.modernSalesTraining.com/outliers. Make sure you type modernSalesTraining.com/OUTLIERS. I'd love to have you join me in my Outliers community. See you there.